Hello and welcome. My name is Ilva Tare. I'm a non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council's Europe Center. This is Balkans Debrief. 6 months after the start of Russia's war in Ukraine, Moscow's intelligence services appear to have increased malign activity in the Western Balkan countries. On August 20th, Albanian authorities detained 3 suspected operatives, 2 with Russian papers and 1 with Ukrainian ones, for photographing a secured facility. It is not the first time that suspected Russian agents have infiltrated Albania, which has been a NATO member since 2009. Last summer, 2 Russian citizens were apprehended on the outskirts of the Kuchova air base carrying a drone. NATO began a 52 million project earlier this year to upgrade an Albanian communist-era airbase of Kuchova. And Prime Minister Rama has stated that Albania is in talks with NATO about establishing a naval base at Porto Romano on the Adriatic coast. In the last days, Montenegro's security agency has warned that Russian hackers launched a massive and consolidated cyber attack. Fabian Zhilla, senior fellow of the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime and an expert on public security in the Western Balkans, joins us today to discuss national security threats posed by intelligence activity and cyber attacks, or as they are called, hybrid war. Fabian, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for your invitation.
Has Russia, according to you, in your opinion, increased its activity in the Balkans as a result of the Ukrainian conflict?
Absolutely. And I think this was perceived by many governments in the region. We see that there is an increase of the budget on the military defense by many members of the Western Balkans, with the Serbia starting the first, that increased the budget by more than 300% compared to 2016 or 15. And other countries as well, which operate in the region, they are members of EU, like Bulgaria, for instance. They increased the budget. The only country that didn't invest as much compared to its neighbors is Albania, with less than 200 million euros per year. So in a sense, we, as analysts of the security issues in the Western Balkans, realize that this dramatic change on the increase of budget and purchase of many heavy weaponries is an indication that something is not going normal. And we realize that since 2021, especially in Albania, there is an increase of influence of, we believe that this is influence of non-friendly countries to Albania and the region. For instance, in 2021, we had the poisoning of 3, the so-called Russian tourists. One of them was part of the Russian military. And in 2022, we had a chain of events that we believe they are linked with the influence of probably a Russian intelligence service. So we have an armed dealer from Poland that dies all of a sudden in Albania, and he was found in an apartment. And after that, the head of the Secret Service in Poland resigns. We have also a report by the Secret Service in Albania that says that there are people from diplomatic bodies in Albania that are recruiting agents, and there are 4 Albanian citizens under investigation by the Special Prosecution Office for providing secret or inside information that are under the national security denomination. And also we had in the summer 2 occasions that we had the so-called tourists that all of a sudden they were visiting our military. They are not typical military settings, but they were former military settings during the communist times. They were outside the jurisdiction or the category of national security objects, but it is very strange that the pictures that were taken there and the storming of one of the tunnels, it was somehow doubtful. And the fact that the prosecution of Elbasan, which is the jurisdiction of the area, has opened the investigation shows that there are indications that there may be links with Secret Service and intentions to somehow explore or have an agenda in Albania. We still there are many hypotheses, and the Prime Minister says that our law enforcement agencies are looking at that.
Fabian, you listed some cases that show that there is activity, intelligence activity in Albania, at least, and lately the cyber attack in Montenegro. But why? Why is a destabilized Balkan region of importance for Russia?
So I think Russia is looking for any form of negotiation also to seat the NATO, to seat the Western countries in the table and find ways or find forms to have a leverage on the table. So this is a kind of indirect threat to buffer zone. So the Western Balkans is a kind of buffer zone. Is very easily to trigger conflict. And we all know that the Western Balkans is divided in two areas in terms of security, international security, the NATO members and the pro-Russian countries, Serbia and the Republika Srpska in Bosnia and Herzegovina. They are strong supporters, or in a sense, the population, at least the public opinion, is supporting, is against NATO invasion in the Balkans, and is pro-Russia in terms of invasion of Ukraine. Where other 6 countries like Montenegro, North Macedonia, Albania, and Kosovo, and Bosnia and Herzegovina, the other parts, they are a strong supporter of NATO, and they are pro-Ukraine independence. In that sense, finding ways and showing the muscles, showing to the NATO that we can destabilize, and if you want that this invasion come in your shores in the European Union, then we can do it. And this is a way that they are threatening in a very sophisticated way to the NATO and European Union, which is an important actor, or some of the member states there are important actors in the NATO decision making.
Russian intelligence gathering appears to have grown as have widespread cyber attacks across the region. In your opinion, as a security expert, can the institutions fend off spying and cybercrime in the Western Balkans?
Absolutely. We show that we had a data leak a year ago. We had a cyber attack that was very widespread, targeting Albanian public institutions. We believe that behind these attacks is the Iranian intelligence service, members of the guard that they have, and there are 2 ways that the Iranian institutions are trying to threaten Albania. Because we have, that we have a number of mujahideen, which are the political opposition of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and they were having their annual meeting, and immediately before that meeting that was planned to be held in the coastal city, the largest we have in Durrës, the hackers threatened, and they said that you should stop, you shouldn't allow that to organize. And they started to reveal the documents. Another way of threatening Albanian institution was to hack the documents and portray the members of the Mujahideens as people involved in organized crime activities. So this kind of propaganda war that both Russia and Iran are doing, and we think that they are not independent actions, but they work in concert together, and they want to show that Albania is very vulnerable to this kind of attacks, is exposed and probably the message that they want to send is that because the NATO is planning to invest in Albania in terms of security, they want to show that Albania is not capable, institutionally wise, and even in terms of infrastructure, to hold this kind of investment, and NATO should not come and invest there, which is completely wrong.
In your view, how dangerous this activity is for the political stability in the region?
I think these are very dangerous activities, considering that we have an attempt to topple down the government in the Montenegro, and we all know that this was a work of intelligence service from Russia, and this can happen again. Therefore, the GRU, that is the military intelligence agency, one of the most powerful in Russia, has been very active in the region, and it is active, and we think that it is probably behind many of the incidents that happened in Albania and Western Balkans in more broad. The typology that they have is that they have also intelligence gathering and military involvement, so they can activate their squads, spetsnaz. And another thing that they have is that they cooperate also with a criminal organization to destabilize the peace and security in the region. And considering that Albania is having local elections soon and probably political election, and the situation is not very good, we are, of course, caution and aware that considering the war in Ukraine that is going on and the situation is not getting well, and the position of Albania against the occupation of Ukraine, and considering that Russia has listed Albania and many other Western Balkans in their enemy list, all scenarios should be taken into account.
Fabian, but do you think these are routine espionage attacks that the NATO members face, or is there something else, something more going on in the Western Balkan countries?
I think this is part of the warfare that Russia is for a long time now using against the opposite countries that are not friendly to its politics. In that sense, I think Western Balkans is one of the regions that can be easily involved in conflicts, and Russia is targeting certain countries with purpose. And I think the reason why we have an increase of these events in Albania or other countries in the Western Balkans is because of the impact of the Ukrainian war, and as Russia is trying to sit with the West on the table and find a positive solution on this side, is using all its form, and the Western Balkans is a proxy that they are trying, or the conflict in the Western Balkans is a strategy that they seems to have in their agenda, considering that most of the Western Balkans countries are on the enemy list of Russia. In that sense, more events are expected to come.
In what sense? What do you mean?
I think we should be prepared for intelligence gatherings and probably more direct influence in the political stability of the Western Balkan countries, considering that Albania is having the local elections soon and political elections after 3 more years. So, in that sense, knowing the attempt that was that the Russian intelligence services did in Montenegro to topple down the government of the opposite, the political opposition toward Russian influence in the Western Balkans. If it happens before, why it will not happen in other countries?
The alleged spies arrived as tourists on both occasions in Albania, taking advantage of a loophole that permits Russians to enter without a visa during the summer vacation seasons. Should Albania reconsider its no visa rule for Russians?
Studying the strategies of the intelligence agency of Russia, one of the strategies that they use is hiring people with different nationalities, not Russian nationality. So I don't think that a strict visa control will deter its agents to come. And as the case of four Albanian officials that are under investigation shows, they were contacted by someone with diplomatic cover. So I think they have already establish their contacts, or they may probably have their network of people that they can contact. In that sense, we should revise the way we allow and control people that are coming from Russia or countries that we believe that there may be some threats and risks. But I don't think that cutting off or putting a visa regime to Russian citizens that want to be real tourists in Albania will help. So we should be careful and balanced and not stereotype and target the wrong people.
And lastly, Fabian, do you agree with the term hybrid war? Are the Western Balkans in a hybrid war?
I agree with the term. Absolutely, we are completely in a new situation, and we should develop our strategies, knowledge, and human capacities to respond in concert with the NATO members, because the hybrid war means that there is an open door, and you will expect the unexpected from these countries.
Thank you very much for granting this interview to Balkans Debrief.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
And thank you for listening to our interviews. You can also follow us on Twitter at AC Europe, watch us on YouTube, and as a podcast.